Hello, and welcome to a new series, this time focused on the moon. Please subscribe to the channel, share this video and any within the series with your friends and loved ones. Comment beneath, like the video, and turn on the notification bell so you can hear when I release new things. Please send me an email if you would like to have a personal reading of your birth chart. This is my great passion and I love doing it, so thank you so much for tuning in. It brings me so much joy to share this amazing art science with you during this new Aquarian age that we're in. The moon is at home in Cancer and at home in the 4th house, so these are themes of family, mother, home, the heart, emotions. So I hope you enjoy this exploration. So here we go with Aries, the moon in Aries. If you have this placement, or if you have the moon in the 1st house, this will also relate to you, has similar themes, then this is a tricky one, and one that needs to be tended to with care. It can be quite blindsided. It's a very innocent placement. The moon is innocent on its own. Aries is the first. It's the most pure form of expression. And in an emotional sense, when we express ourselves as an Aries moon, it's coming out in its most utterly true sense. It's not manipulated, it's not jaded, it's not considering others, it's not considering much about itself or its surroundings. And therefore, you see how we are all our moon when we're children. Moon being soft and emotional and fluid and flowing and ow, I had a boo-boo on my knee, I hurt myself, and 2 seconds later I'm absolutely fine and climbing the same tree. It's a bounce back, rubber ball, which is so fun and not fun for the parents who have learnt to switch off their emotions, to tune out, to parent in a way which puts down strong emotion, because there's a time and a place. So this can be an extremely wounded moon placement, and maybe if you're coming into this as an adult, you can't even see yourself in this video, you can't even identify yourself anywhere within it because you're so detuned from this baby moon. It can be really painful for the Aries moon, 1st house moon, that is just expressing its environment, just expressing what it feels, and then getting punished for it, getting judged for it, and shut down. It's a jack in the box, and how can you put a lid on something that is just gonna spring out? Everything to do with Aries is about the will. The problem is that the master of the Aries moon, in the eyes of the parents or of the world, will be the child, adolescent, adult who has learnt to control their emotions and suppress them instead of observe them. As with all emotional states, they need to be observed and not purely acted on. Observation can also involve physical crying and sobbing and releasing of noise, but not directed at another person or at an object or at yourself. And that's very difficult for us all to learn. Fast forward to an adult Aries moon that has been suppressed. It's likely that, well, the emotional charge is still there. So it will be there in terms of a lot of resentment, and then that boils and festers and turns into just a general layer of rage just below the surface, which can be felt right from from the age of a toddler all the way through until adulthood, and it will start manifesting outwardly in unwanted, explosive ways, particularly if things like alcohol are involved, and strong relationships, strong emotions of others. And many times the Aries moon is looking for that, because it wants that release. It's looking for these ways to channel and to make it okay. So it maybe will be attracted to very highly emotional people, because then it feels like, finally I have a role here. This can be a really nice thing if you're an actor, if you want to go into the acting profession, because then you have a way to channel this emotion, to get it out, because no one wants to retain it. And Aries, being the baby of the zodiac, the youngest, is also the wisest, because it doesn't want to hold on to these emotions, it just wants to let them go. It doesn't want to analyze them, it just wants to let them go. It doesn't need to have a desire to let them go, it just lets them go. And we're not taught to do that in a Atlantean intellectual society. We are supposed to analyze, scrutinize, judge, find the root of the problem. What created this emotion, and how old were you when it happened, and what was the particular trauma? Doesn't matter. Just want it out. Like, it really doesn't matter about the story. And so many times we do this inner child trauma work, and we're trying to look for that nail to hit on the head. The emotion is the whole thing. It's the nail and the hammer. It's the end. The emotion is not the process. The emotion is the end. And you always know an Aries moon is lying in false emotion, in manipulation tactics, when they are seething and writhing and holding on to a grudge, or holding on to an emotion and then crying for days and days, and that's resisting the actual emotion, or just dragging it out for the sake of performance. And there's something so much more playful, you know. And the other point then is not to then judge yourself for having this behavior. We've all learned very peculiar and particular strategies to emotionally manipulate our way through this crazy world. Doesn't matter how good the family you were brought into was towards you. The world is very far removed from accepting emotion in all its forms. Children are all baby moons in that way, that they just express what they feel. You may know by now that I have this placement. I know it very, very well. And one thing I ask you and encourage you to do is to look at the other things in your chart, see the moon as a part of yourself, and then look at the rest of you and say, how does the rest of me feel about this? And for me it was, that inconvenient emotional element that doesn't fit neatly in my boxes, in my Sagittarian Virgo constructs and concepts. It's this pure, fiery, potent and jovial, and it's not just the negative emotions, you know, it's all of the emotions, and they're all inconvenient. They can be really contagious in both ways. And maybe because they're so fiery and short, you don't really realize how much of an effect they have on other people, because as children we learn so quickly to detune and to disown. That wasn't me. Wait, what? No. When in fact you could have changed the entire atmosphere in a room. This can work in both ways, negatively, bringing people down, and also maybe there's some tension, some scorpionic back and forth going on forever. The Aries moon will come in and just be like, I want the crescendo, give me the end. It will just feel the tension and just release it. So it will be quite strange to have, you know, maybe a big situation between people that have known each other for years, and then a new person comes along with this placement, has no idea what's going on, but then they have a huge reaction. And they're acting as a channel to release all of this tension that's festering. Again, because of this belief that we need to hold on to something. And then if you bring that then back into your own psyche, it doesn't have to be people external to you. Look at the elements inside of you that are wanting to analyze, are wanting to critique, are wanting to box and label and neatly strategize, and then allow the wrecking ball of the Aries moon to just come flying in and just observe it for what it is, which is a helping hand to remind you that everything is impermanent, everything changes, you cannot plan for anything, especially if there are other people involved. They have their own wills and they may make a different decision. To then sit with that feeling inside and sit with all the different emotions that come up. And this doesn't, for me, you could say, yeah, for some people it looks like just silently meditating and being still, you know. For some people it looks like going out and, you know, dancing and partying and all this. But typically, for me, in this world that we live in, it's a huge amount of crying that needs to happen. Crying, sobbing, shaking, and potentially hitting things. You know, hitting the ground, just hitting a punching bag, just letting it out in that way. And for the Aries moon, this is quick work. This can be really quick work, and it can be one of those most traumatized positions for the moon, and yet the easiest to evolve, because there's very little desire to hold on to the past. There's a get to the point feeling, like cut to the chase, don't beat around the bush. Very willing to go through the strong emotions and just do the work, you know, no resistance. Once the block has been lifted, once the floodgates have been opened, it's right, yeah, let this go. You know, these are the worst toddlers, you know, these are the really willful toddlers who are struggling and trying to find, where do I emotionally begin and end, and why am I not allowed to release this one and I am allowed to release that one? It all makes no sense. I can try and use my mind to comprehend this, but feeling wise, this is not computing. So there's a big separation that takes place there. When those two parts are unified and that has been given permission, then sparks start flying. That's Aries, is sparks. They shoot off, and then all of this can be the kind of the sadness and the misery and the frustration, all of that can be released. And then you feel underneath what that really is just this buzzing energy that then is the spice of the universe. It's all the different spices of the universe, all the different flavors, and they give different effects. And then they can be channeled into artwork, they can be channeled into singing and much more of this creative side of things. But ultimately, this placement, it really does have a lot of rage to express. And when someone said this to me, when my partner said this to me, not someone, when my partner said this to me for the first time, and he said, you know, you can be angry. And I said, me? Angry? 4 days later, I was bashing the ground with a stick. I couldn't get enough of it. You know, I was just finally allowed to release. I did a holotropic breath work. I recommend that. That's cutting through the ego and you need to have someone with you to supervise you. But it's kind of hyperventilating to the point where you go beyond the mind. The mind was there very faintly in the background trying to assess what the hell was going on, but emotions just started bubbling out of me, flying out of me, shooting out. The very, very guttural cries of a baby, like a real baby's voice. Somebody in the gathering thought there was a baby there, and it wasn't. It was me expressing. Then also all of these other emotions and things that I'd never expressed, because of course when you don't express when you're young, later you're faced with other situations in life and you also don't express. And this can be a really bad place for sexual trauma, because you've learned to not express how you feel, and the truth is you have no idea how you feel, because this is not a moon that gives you a heads up. There's no preface to the story of this emotion. This is a one-page, quick, very short chapter of emotion that comes and hits you like a truck and then goes as quickly as it's come. So this can be an extremely resilient emotional being once this work has been done and it's been faced, because it's capable of taking on huge amounts of emotion, even if everyone around can't actually handle that. And because it's the moon, look at your mother. Look at your mother's moon placement. My mother also has a fire moon. This is quick, fiery, and very, again, intimidating energy for others around them. So she's had the same wound as me coming down, and she's just taught me what she learned. Look at your relationship with your mother. Look at how she processes emotions, and how did you learn to be emotional from her? After that, once that bridge is crossed, as I say, use the energy wisely and don't allow yours, and take responsibility for your emotions. You feel how you feel, doesn't matter why, and it's no one else's fault. There's no box. You're not handing the emotion over to someone else to take from you. The universe will take care of it for you if you just let it ripple through and out. And that's the greatest lesson, and it's the shortest book in the world. So no one wants to learn this about emotions, how easy it can be if we just feel them. No emotion can last more than 3 minutes. If it's lasting more than 3 minutes, then we're sitting in resistance and we're not feeling. We're wallowing and we're holding it down. And then you just look at the neck, how much tension is being held in the neck, and then you know the emotion is not coming out. It's a channel. Energy in motion is emotion. Energy in motion. Let it fly. Let the sparks fly.